A little bit of okay. I can't handle that anger that we were having at dinner. That's really bad takes. Welcome back to Two Homers and a Realist. This is the Midweek pod following the Texas game as we await the mighty Jayhawks. The Sooners are at a crossroads. We are still fuming, I think. It's true to say there is anger still right underneath the surface with all of us. We've got, I think, a lot to say about where we are and a lot of concern about where we're headed. But maybe there's a glimmer of hope or optimism and seeing where things can turn around. I'm Steve.
Lucas.
Jay.
Connor.
All right. So I thought one thing we could talk about just out of the gate would be, what do the Sooners need to do?
It wasn't change their uniforms. I know that.
Well, that was later on the agenda, but we can talk about that now if you like. So what about those new uniforms? We got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about uniforms. We're going to talk about the portal. We're going to talk about locks of the week. We're going to give some OU predictions. But let's start with the uniforms. So the Sooners announced today, I guess, that they're going to
Unify.
Unify. Unity is the message, with new uniforms for this game that are very different.
They suck, dude.
And
They're
I
terrible.
don't think any of us are happy about them or with them. Jay's sort of indifferent.
Yeah, I don't care.
You don't care.
He's not part of this segment.
You don't care.
Yeah.
I don't. It doesn't bother me.
Lucas, how do you feel about these uniforms?
I'm 1,000% against the black uniforms. Gray helmets.
Isn't black and gray one of the OU colors?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Last time I checked, they were not. I don't get bothered when the basketball team wears the anthracite, or the softball team, or when I watched the volleyball last week, they played Baylor and they were wearing anthracite.
So you were the one person that watched the volleyball game.
And it doesn't. Black is not the color for OU. OSU has worn black plenty of times. I don't like the fact that our in-state quote-unquote rival, that's one of the colors they use on a regular basis. I mean, last week they were black with the stupid paisley stuff in the collar and the orange numbers. So I think coming off 3 losses, it looks desperate, even though I would imagine this has been planned all season.
Bad timing.
It looks really bad. And to say it's in honor of Prentice Galt, I don't know if I buy that. I mean,
I think they're honoring him.
yeah, but if to really honor him, they should have done a throwback jersey to when he played.
I like that too. That was my thought. I thought a throwback would have been a great way to talk about a former player that you're trying to honor from that era, and obviously a path-breaking player. We were one of the first teams around that had a black player on our roster, and he faced a lot of obstacles and vitriol and hatred and pushback. It wasn't until 1971 that Texas had anyone on that squad that wasn't basically white. So to have done that in the 50s is a pretty proud moment for OU. But these uniforms just disconnect for me as a way of doing that. I don't like changing the uniforms, period. And I really don't like changing them in a way that's so gaudy and out there. Just such, I don't like it. I don't think it looks good. And I also think it's a lot of different colors and a lot of different stuff going on at the same time. I like subtlety if you're going to change something. I didn't like it even when Bob Stoops took the names off the back of the jerseys. I didn't like it when Howard Schnellenberger changed the jerseys around, or the entire uniform around, and took the stripes off the pants and put them on the sleeves. He actually tried to change our color because he said he looked it up and it was Cardinal 23 or something. It was the official color, and he wanted the red to change. So I just don't like a lot of that. And we were talking about this earlier, and I think this is correct. Does Texas change their uniforms?
Nope.
Does Penn State change their uniforms?
No.
Does Alabama change their uniforms? Does USC change their uniforms? Does Florida State change their uniforms? I don't know if any
I
of
think
these.
they have.
They maybe have.
They've mixed it up with like their helmet and
they've
stuff.
So
done
now
all
we're getting
gold,
into
I
the
think.
realm of who's changed their uniforms, and I understand. I like a throwback. I think throwbacks. That's the one thing I can get behind in terms of change. I just would like to be so classic that we never change our uniforms.
Well, this is why I'm indifferent on it, because it's not for us at all.
How is it not for us?
It's not for us.
Who's it for?
It's for the players and
So-
future players to get excited about something.
They
I don't
can't
know.
get excited about playing in an OU uniform, because I think those
They
guys
do.
at Alabama
All
get
the other
excited about
games of
that
the year.
every time.
They do. I don't know. It's just, I just don't think it's that big of a deal
Well,
for us. I don't know why we care so much.
I care because I care about the uniforms. I think the Miami Dolphins have beautiful uniforms.
Yeah, but
I don't want to see Oklahoma line
But they
up
didn't come
with
out
the
and make
Miami
a permanent
Dolphin
change of
on.
uniform. I get that. If they're like, hey, we're completely changing our uniform from here on out for the future of OU football, I could see where everybody would be like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
It's one uniform out of only 12 that we get to wear all season.
Yeah,
And
it's not like it's thousands.
It's one out of only 5 home uniforms
hey,
that we get
out
to.
of maybe 15.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Not
12
this year.
regular season games. So
And only 6 at home.
exactly.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I don't want...
No, I'm serious.
That's
So
the point.
it's
You got
kind of
a
like
point,
it's kind of like
Jay.
what we
I
said.
agree.
It's kind of like what we said earlier. Brent Venables comes in and preaches this culture and preaches we're going to get, like Steve said earlier, we're going to get people to buy into the fact that we're Oklahoma, and we are this blue blood. We are this kind of everlasting brand. You're coming here to be a Sooner.
Sooner first.
What
You're
we're
going to
rolling
choose
out,
us.
What we're rolling out on Saturday, it says nothing like that. Like you can say it's a homage to the past and to a great player and someone who broke the chains of a lot of things, but to do it in this way and to what we read earlier.
Well, the two things are not
right before
connected
this.
in
No,
my mind. They don't have to be connected.
Exactly. You don't have to
can honor
correlate
the
those
player
things.
without even changing the uniform.
Right.
But if you're going to honor the player, I think you would logically throw back to his uniform of his day.
Yep. Yep.
I just
I
think
can
that
see that
this
argument.
change is, I don't know, it just...
They
to
honored the
me,
Selmans and
it
didn't
looks-
have a throwback jersey
Right, or any kind of change.
or any kind of change. Yeah.
I just think
When
it
everyone
looks,
thought we would.
like you said before, it looks desperate at this point in time. It just, the timing's bad or something, that right now we're at a crossroads and we've made this choice to make this change as if that's going to carry the day. And I don't like the idea of the unity because, again, it may just be a coincidence of that message coming across now, but it's as if unity is the only thing holding us back or a
that's what-
major thing holding us back.
That's what a lot
And
of
I don't
people
think it is.
seem to understand about the uniforms themselves.
Or it's all we've got.
Every single player is going to be wearing the word unity across their back. It's not something they did as a picture for marketing or anything. Every single player is going to be wearing that. It's gimmicky. It's so silly.
I think
to
it's
me.
gimmicky, and maybe a gimmicky they need. Maybe this is to your point, Jay.
That irritates me a whole lot more than just the uniform change.
Interesting. Well,
It's not for you, Jay.
it's not for you, Jay. It's for them to have unity. But I get the message. It's just your marketing matters, and you mess with a brand, and that has implications. You got to be careful about this kind of stuff, and sometimes they take things for granted in this regard, or they make it as if this gimmicky stuff is all it takes. And this is coming on the heels of another gimmicky thing they did with totally different, but trying to pretend Dylan Gabriel was going to play. Like, this is kind of scary if we're going down the road of gimmicky stuff as if that's our new identity rather than trying to build championship football.
Well, and usually...
Maybe I'm making too big a deal about this whole
Usually I would say at least we're pulling it out against a team like Kansas. Kansas could beat us Saturday. So it's not like there's a good time to do this at least at this point in the season.
I can get on board with that. This is probably the wrong year with how we're playing to bust out anything the way us fans are and how we look at things. A beat down by Kansas in the new black uniforms.
Not even a
Let's
beat
hope
down.
they're not
a
new.
loss.
Will be-
a
Hope
Hope they're
loss.
alternative, not new.
No, but you
Yeah.
get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No one's going to forget that.
That's true.
I still haven't forgot when we wore the all crimson with Baker. We lost to Iowa State at home. People still are like, we should never wear the all crimson because of that one loss.
I think we should never wear them because it looks like it's stupid. It looks
It
awful.
looked like South Carolina.
That
Color
looks
rush.
very bad. Yeah, color rush, dumb. Anyway, that's enough about that topic. Let's talk in general about what the Sooners need to do. So, who has an opinion, I know I do, on what I think they need to do from here on out? I think they need to show improvement. I think they probably need to transition to where you got to go in one of two directions or strike a good balance. You either have to put the guys in who have the experience and let them run what they're comfortable running, which is more of a 4-2 defensive set, etc., and try to win football games to get bowl eligible, because I think bowl eligibility is an exceptionally important thing. Or you have to say, or some combination, we're going to play for the future, we're putting young guys in there, and we're going to run the scheme we want to run in the future, which is more of this 3-3-3-2, whatever.
Record be
type of set.
damned.
Record maybe be damned.
Yeah.
Or strike a balance between the two.
I think they've been running the defense that way the whole season. Now, the youth movement would be different for that, but I don't think they want to go into next offseason reteaching or still teaching the system to the players that are actually going to be here the next couple of years. And I think that's why they've stuck with it, even though we don't have the personnel for it. I do think they thought, even though we don't have exactly the personnel we want for this, they would be better than what we've shown. So I think they are in a pretty serious predicament when it comes to that of staying stubborn and running what we want the defense to be in the future.
Or charitable explanation is that they thought they could run it, because otherwise, why do you run it with the guys that aren't going to be there? Who cares if a senior gets the new defensive setup?
Right. If they
if
they keep doing what you said and the youth movement doesn't happen and we stay
Serious
stubborn
problems.
and the old guys just keep playing, that's a whole different set of problems, because
That would be the most disappointing thing
absolutely
I can
pointless
see.
to do whatsoever.
Yeah,
That
and
would be very
that's an
disappointing.
interesting point based on that big, long post that you sent us today, is that we've been running this 3-3-5 because this is the defense that Venables is going to want to run going forward. Yet he chooses to run it with the people that are not going to be in that system in the future. It's wild. It undercuts itself so many times.
The only way it works is if for some reason in practice they run it perfectly or really, really well. And that's what's baffling to him. But how many games do you need to see to realize in a game, when the lights come on, these guys can't do it? So that's what I hope in terms of how the coaches respond. I hope the coaches respond to what we've seen by making some critical changes there. One of two. You can either go back to what has worked with the guys that have the experience, or we need to just build for the future and play the gamble that you can do it without going to a bowl game, or maybe you find your way in a bowl game if you can win some games on the tail end of the season.
God, the thing with the
bowl
bowl
games
game
are really, really important.
The practice
it's
is
just
leading
the
up.
practice.
Yeah,
It's not even the game.
Exactly,
You
that's what I mean.
it's all the extra practices you get.
It's actually really crazy that if you're not good enough to make a bowl, we're going to punish you by not letting you get in more practice. I've always thought that was strange anyways.
That is kind of strange.
It's incentive, though. It's
I
incentive
guess,
to be good.
Shouldn't everyone have that same eligibility?
Yeah,
in
just
practices?
let's let them. Yeah, you get 15 practices.
Right.
You didn't make a bowl.
It
Your
is sort of a
team
way to
needs 15 practices.
keep the bad teams down and
Seems
promote
like it.
the good teams, yeah, which would be in keeping with NCAA policies in general. So what other things should the coaches do in terms of how they should respond to the situation the Sooners are in?
Well, I mean, look at some of the personnel change we've just seen over the past day.
Yeah,
I mean,
talk about those.
What is that
So
telling us?
DJ Graham is going from the defense to the offense, so we're losing a defensive back there.
Which again, I don't know how
losing
that.
a cornerback.
I don't know how that matters a lot.
Well, I
because-
wonder if he's more physical. I mean, I think we've been very weak at wide receiver. So, especially, well, in every regard. They don't run themselves open. They don't force themselves open. They don't block very well. So maybe they're getting a guy who's going to be more physical.
He wanted to do this last year.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
And they wouldn't let him do it last year.
Huh.
And
interesting.
That's apparently why you saw all the free Brian Darby tweets yesterday, though, is because Graham's moving over. Apparently, Darby's been showing out in practice and is not getting any sort of reps during the game. Yet they're moving a DB over to wide receiver when we apparently have a wide receiver who's been proving himself but is not getting the playing time during the game that adds up to that. So
Well, that's pretty interesting.
there's so much oddity to.
well, and
This entire season
I
so
think
far.
you're going to see some discourse in the way that things go when you come off of 3 straight losses with any program, especially with an elite program like we are supposed to be. But it is interesting just to see. I mean, not only the DJ Graham thing, you moved to the next guy, Jay, like you said, like Woody Washington moving to safety, and
Is that in response to the Billy Bowman injury?
It's got to.
It is.
It's got to be. Yeah.
Which means he might be out longer than any of us had hoped.
I think it's 4 to 5 weeks.
That's a big
I mean,
blow.
I thought Morrison looked all right. He got burned a couple times at Texas.
Well, maybe Woody Washington's taking over for Justin Broyles.
Maybe so.
I don't know
that's
that we're
a good
that
point.
lucky.
I don't think so. I think it's him and Broyles
Boy,
at safety.
Morrison has looked, and he's been very aggressive.
He's been fast.
And he has been fast, but he has been a little too aggressive in some spots where he could have gotten did he get a personal foul actually in one position?
They
He almost
could have
did.
called
Yeah,
one
could have
after
called
the
one.
injury.
That's right.
right?
I think he actually tackles though, which is nice to see.
I like him out there. Yeah.
And I mean, again,
It
goes
seems
back
like
to
half
he was
the rest
not
of the team doesn't want to tackle.
he was not part of the previous regime who didn't know how to do that.
Well, those are interesting changes that they've got. It'll be interesting to see how the players respond. What should the players do in general? Anything that stands out in terms of specific players or just
They
players
should
in general?
run faster, catch better,
Score more points.
Block more.
block more, tackle better,
Okay.
and be in the right position.
Win football games.
It's a lot. You're asking for a lot. So one of the things that was said, who was it that said there's just 12 to 15 things they're doing wrong?
Deshaun White.
Deshaun White, yeah.
Imagine that,
I think he
dude.
meant just on one play. He was doing 12 to 15
Well,
things
12
wrong.
to
12 to
15
15 little things.
Yeah,
Little things.
so
I would rake Deshaun White's face over the coals over there if he was here right now.
so
Quit football, man.
that didn't make any sense because there can't be, if you're asking a guy to do 12 to 15 things on a play, you're asking him to do
He had to mean
9 to 10 too many things.
He meant throughout the game.
he had to mean for the whole game.
I think you're
He had to
right.
mean there's 12 to 15 plays
And he's
where
probably right.
I don't think that's a very good estimate, if you ask me. After what I saw last week,
No, that was probably just his
that was 2
mistakes.
series.
That was probably just him.
Yeah, but they didn't. I don't know. If one of those things is tackle and one of those things is get in position, you've pretty much nailed most of everything they've done wrong. Like I don't know how he said they're little things, so I don't know. I would guess there's some accuracy in what he's saying, but the question becomes, why aren't you doing them? Why can't you
feel so
pull
much
that
I
off?
think we're doing a bad job of getting the defensive play calls in quickly, especially against up-tempo offenses. But even in general, they're looking to the whole squad is looking to the sideline when, most of the time you have a safety and a linebacker looking to the sideline, and then he yells out the call to the rest of the team while everybody's still watching the ball
Right.
in case it gets snapped early.
Well, that was something we
And
complained
everybody's
about
got their heads turned.
back when in the late two single aughts and when Venables, was here,
Yep.
that we were saying they were all looking to the sideline too long, waiting to figure out what the play was. One way or another, you got to have the play call in there.
And you're better off at just a base than trying to, you tell everybody, we're going to run this and look to the sideline until we say different. Every play, especially when teams are running these hurry up, you just got to be prepared to be in a generalized set and not play by play expecting different things.
I want to talk to a fan of Clemson who is
super happy with being
person.
6-0.
a rational person who sees it like we do or thinks about it like we do, to ask them, did they have the same problem ever? And maybe it would be contingent on, did teams in the ACC run high tempo? Maybe they didn't. Or I would hope that they did, and that at Clemson they still were able to get it all in time and make it work. I have a little bit of fear that they run really slow offenses in the ACC, and it got disguised a little bit how slow they are in getting plays in an Venables system.
You wonder if they're trying to make the perfect call.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like you want,
rather than just the workable call.
I want my D line to shift this way. Linebackers look at me. This is what you're supposed to do. Secondary look at me. Oh, the ball's already snapped.
Right.
Instead of just,
and one guy's out of position.
like you
and
said,
that's all it
we
takes.
have our play, so to speak, our base.
And you hope
of this.
after the last 2 weeks, you hope that the coaches go back and they look at that and they say, there's not going to be a perfect call with this team.
Is it a problem having the defensive coordinator in the press box? Should he be on the sidelines? Would that be an easier way to one, get the play in, and two, get in a player's face and tell him what he's doing wrong when he comes off?
I don't know,
Doesn't matter.
when Mike moved from the sideline upstairs, did we get worse?
That's
Or
for
was
different
it
reasons.
about the
though.
same.
That's for a lot of
I
different
don't know if
reasons.
that's. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I think it works both
And
ways.
I think that
just
was.
whatever you're best at, honestly.
I
I don't know
know if I'd use that one.
We've had an offensive coordinator on the
that sample
sideline
size of one to matter
for
much.
4 years or however long. No, how was Lincoln here? 5 years between coordinating and head coach?
Longer than that.
6 years.
6
coordinating
years
and
on the sideline.
7 years on the sideline.
And now you've got a guy upstairs.
15.
Is
yeah.
that hurting us on offense too?
Could be.
I would think you could see the field better upstairs.
I mean, I trust. I
I'm
trust
sure you
the.
can.
the NFL, it's 50-50. You got
Yeah.
a lot of guys on the sideline, a lot of guys upstairs. So I think it just the coach's preference.
I would
I
tend to. I
trust
would
the
tend to agree
position
with
coaches.
that too.
I trust the position coaches down on the sideline to
I agree with
get
all
their
of that.
guys in line
I don't
just
trust
asked
any
a
of our
question.
coaches right
to
now.
feel the game.
Yeah.
See, Luke, I mean, I understand the sentiment there. I do, trust me, from what we've seen.
What have we done good on the field?
But it doesn't answer the
in
question.
3 weeks.
The question is, where should they be? And I would agree it's up to them, and I trust that they can figure out where they want to be, and they can do well. I don't know if you could force the change and get an improvement. But
What's Ted Roof going to go tell Danny Stutzman that, either Brent Venables himself, who I see down there in the huddle on the bench,
yeah.
or who's the other linebacker coach that we have? down
Stutzman
there?
needs to start tackling people, is what I know, instead of getting
We also need
bowled
to get,
over by running backs.
He also needs to get in the right position and take the right lane.
He was the
too.
highest earning Sooners fantasy player last week. So
Well,
I actually don't know.
check yourself.
I don't know if the coaches even know what's wrong. The way that you hear so many people talk, media members that are close to the program or former players that are still close to the program, they honestly talk like they don't know what's going on either. Like there's
like
nothing.
they don't have an explanation.
There's nothing
for
to
what we see on the
pinpoint what's going
field.
on because there is a strain. It sounds like there is a disconnect between what they're taught in the meeting rooms, what they're practicing on the field, and when the lights come on Saturday. Somewhere in between there, it's not translating.
I think you drew a really good parallel the other day, though, with not even this team, but the same team, but with a different coach before that. Look at the first year Dave Aranda team. You're not going to tell me Dave Aranda wasn't preaching what he preaches now, and is trying to instill
And they
the
were
values.
2-7 in 2020.
Exactly,
And then they go 11-3 and win the conference. In 2021.
and even look back to
Or-
and it's
No,
a
they
com-
lose.
No, they won.
They won the conference.
in
Oh no,
2021.
then we
Yeah,
beat
they
Rule.
lose.
We beat Rule.
Yeah. Then
Then they
go
went
2-7.
2-7.
They were 11-3, 2-7,
Yeah.
and then 10-2.
But then
or
even
whatever.
go back and look at Matt Rule's first year in 17. They win one game, and then the next year they're playing for a conference championship. Or 2 years later, they're playing for a conference championship.
I mean, do you think it would be
So-
interesting to look back at it and see, did they stay stubborn? Did they run a scheme that they didn't have players for
Would be interesting.
for the same reason and just took your lumps?
Right.
But the difference is you can take your lumps at Baylor.
Exactly.
That's
You-
what's so hard for
Yeah.
everyone to stomach.
You're gonna have the time to take your lumps because people understand that this is going to be a process,
Right.
And that you are building something that is not going to be an immediate. You're not going to get it. You're not getting immediate value out of. Like I think even myself bought into. I mean, yeah. Look at all of our preseason predictions: 11-1, 11-1, 12-0, and 12-0, right? Between the four of us, and we expected immediate results from not only the players on the field but also the staff, and maybe you weren't giving enough credence to the fact that this isn't just going to be something that's built overnight.
Well, I underappreciated how much we had lost in terms of talent,
Oh.
but I think I gave
God,
the appropriate
no doubt.
expectation that when it came to coaching, they would have them in the right position to win.
to meet that gap.
And I think they still could have. I think we've lost 3 games in a row here where we very easily could have won 2 of them, if not been competitive with a chance to win all 3 of them, if we would have been coached very differently throughout the entire process.
I'd agree with that.
Now, maybe they would argue, and they'd be right, and I don't know if this is their argument, that that would sacrifice the future. I don't know if that's true. But, and I tend to doubt that that's true. I don't think you have to sacrifice the present for the sake of the future
Right.
that way.
Not with this program.
I
Not
don't-
with this program.
I don't
right.
know though, because if you're running a completely different scheme and you have all these different gaps that you're responsible for and all these different handoffs of players in motion and who does this, and if he comes this way you're in man, if he goes that way you're in cover 2, all these different things, I think that you would have to literally reteach
Reset people.
the defense all next season.
But you
Just-
can do that in throughout the off season. You can do that also in practice
Now,
right
what
now.
were we working
But
on?
maybe that's not enough time to do it.
I guess. I don't know. I
Like, okay, let me put it this way.
well,
Let
can
me-
you
okay, look.
integrate it though? Once
I guess my point is, like, so next season, right? What if Danny Stutzman has an All-American type season?
You better gain
Because,
30 pounds.
but it's because he learned in the
with
game where he's supposed to go on his gaps.
All right, yeah.
Now, if he was in a different defense just to keep us in these games, maybe he won't be an All-American.
But I don't know if it's all or nothing. I don't think you have to run exclusively one or the other. But right now we are exclusively running the system for the future. We
Yeah.
are not introducing some of both, and at least introducing some success and getting off the field and giving us a chance in games.
Well, and at this
it
point,
started in the
yeah.
K-State game.
I'm going to guess it was the plan.
Yeah.
It just hasn't gone nearly as well as they had hoped, but now they're just kind of stuck with the plan.
Well,
think-
it kind
I
of
think-
frustrates me that it took them 3 weeks to confirm that the plan was going to fail.
It might not have.
Well, they should have known
It might
in
have
the
started to
K-State
fall,
game.
fall
They-
apart a little bit at Kansas State, and then
Well, it fell apart at Nebraska, and they immediately went away from it.
And
And they
then-
went back to the four-man front, and they had success. And then the K-State game, they ran it basically exclusively, if I remember right.
We need Deshaun White to get another targeting call in the second quarter and
so Canada could come in.
get Kanik in the game early.
I don't know. I think the right mix is a little bit of both, because I do think you want to build for the future and introduce early, as quickly as you can, the scheme you're trying to run. But they obviously were trying to run both of them for a while.
There's a fine line. There's a fine line.
I'll take it back and say that it was just a rough 3-game spell if we roll off 4 wins in a row where the defense looks dynamite in a 3-3-5. And I'll say, okay, I understand. It took you that long to implement it, and we sacrificed 3 games, and we sacrificed a bit of this season. We still got to a bowl game, and we get to build for the future. I'll be cool with that.
I think that's best
Well, I'll be
case
cool
scenario.
with that. Well, that actually introduces the next question, which is, what are reasonable aspirations now for 2022? Reasonable aspirations. Start with just record. I would say that a reasonable aspiration is an 8-4 season, regular season.
I would say that's an exceptional aspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
I would say 7-5 with a bowl appearance where you get the
So
extra
you're
practices.
still playing Texas Tech, you're still playing West Virginia, you're still playing Iowa State.
I know, and
These are the weakest 3 teams in the conference.
they are, and it's
Texas Tech beat
Texas Tech scares me because we're in Lubbock. And
Well, I'm not saying any of them were Kansas
Right.
circa 2019.
Yeah. So I mean, I think if we finish 7-5 at this point, and maybe it's just because I haven't felt a win in 4 weeks that I feel like this.
And it's felt worse and worse.
Right,
every
and
week.
nothing's gonna fix anything until we actually get back in the win column.
because it's not fixable.
But in the post game at Kansas, this Saturday,
7-5 feels phenomenal.
I think we
7-5
get
feels
7-5.
really good.
We're,
Yeah, it really does.
We're high fiving each other. I mean, I
don't
think
think
reasonable
so.
expectation.
I bet we're not high-fiving
is to
each
win
other.
2 more games this season and finish 5-7.
reasonable aspiration.
Reasonable
Not
aspiration.
Not expectation.
Okay.
Aspiration.
Here's the deal.
5-7.
It sounds so disappointing to us.
That's pretty stark.
There's the
That
realist.
sounds
take
so
right there.
disappointing to
There's
us.
the realist take.
Texas pulls that off every couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, they were 5-7 last year.
But see, I never want
And
to
I
get
think-
to that level.
But look, what did
of
they have?
comp-
What did
of-
they have
of
last year?
Comparison.
Brand new coach, brand new
quarterback,
systems,
brand new systems.
brand new defensive coordinator.
And a
Texas might have
shit ton
just
of
been
money.
And
doing.
still almost
They
beat
have a
us.
lot of money.
They might have been doing exactly what we're doing right now, and they just ran with Pete Kwiatkowski's defense, and it didn't work for them last year. They were horrible at defense, and they just stuck with it and stuck with it and stuck with it, and
And yet they
I mean,
still pulled out.
yeah, they are.
five.
If we
you
finish
go- if you go back
5-7,
game by
someone
game-
needs to
They finished
find me a
5-7.
razor blade.
If you go back
That's
game by
terrible.
game, they should have finished 7-5 because there's no way they shouldn't have beaten us.
We're not
with
finishing
having a
5-7.
28-7
and
lead.
Oklahoma State.
And Kansas.
And Oklahoma State.
They gave up a 2-point conversion to Kansas at the end of the game.
Yeah.
To lose that one. They could have easily gone 7-5
Or 8-4.
for one play each of those 3 games.
Just like
Right,
we
that'd
could
be
have-
one
just
play
like,
for 2 again.
Just
Yeah.
like we could have gone, lost 3 games on 1 or 2
Well, when we
plays.
were 9-0, we probably should have lost. I mean,
So I mean that's the
Kansas
thing.
and Kansas State.
You can flip it on its head either way. I mean it's
but this team hasn't showed anything like that. The TCU or the
Anything like what?
The Kansas State game honestly could have been the one play, the 3rd and 16, the win for the touchdown. We stopped that instead to get the ball and go score. That's the difference in a game. TCU was never close. Texas was never close.
Well, we have yet to lose to a team that's as bad as Kansas was last year. Not even close.
Yeah, that's true.
And they had some pretty ugly losses as well. in
Thank
those
God we're not going to
7
play anybody
losses.
that bad either.
So we may be on the model of Texas from 2021.
We might be Kansas.
Shut up. God,
Kansas is 5-1.
what are we doing here?
We're this year's
He's
Kansas.
talking about 21 Kansas.
Yeah, and next year, there we go. Well, I don't know. I think that it
I
can
think
turn
8
a lot.
and 4 is absolutely insane to think of at this point.
I would be just, honestly, I'd be over the moon with 8 and 4.
Insanity at
It's
this point.
not.
And not an
You-
8 and 4 where like
Eh.
we didn't look good, but we still won the game.
What kind of odds would you give me on an 8 and 4?
I don't know. You don't have a very good betting record against me in terms of
We've done
college
2
football.
things straight up, and you've won one of them. So
I'm well on my way to win the second one.
I don't know about that. We'll see.
Well on the way.
Yeah, we'll see how narrowly you win that one.
I don't think 8 and 4 is out of the question. I really don't.
Oh, of course, it's not out of the question.
No, but I don't even think it's a long shot. I'm not even going to say that.
Oh, it's definitely a long shot.
I'm not
A
going to say
long
that.
shot?
I don't think it's a long shot.
You act like we didn't dominate in 3 straight games.
That feels like
But
an
it's not.
eternity ago.
But it is still the exact same team minus Billy Bowman,
Well,
That's true.
right?
maybe it was that important.
Depends on if Gabriel
No.
gets hurt again.
That's another key component.
All
Billy
it takes
Bowman
is
did
one
not
knock
beat
to the head
Nebraska
and he's
49
done.
to 14.
So
He might get everybody where they're supposed to go.
about 60%
Put a mic in
of
their
the
face.
losses were without Dylan Gabriel.
What
You have to
percentage?
take about 60%.
Yeah.
So my mic just fell. So you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
That if you've got Dylan Gabriel, those games look very different. I know it is not likely, but we probably are a lot closer in the TCU game
Yeah.
and potentially are winning that game.
The Texas game, no, I think we lose that no matter
We
what.
lose that by 3 touchdowns
Um,
minimum.
The TCU game, you just never
Yeah,
know.
maybe, maybe not. You don't know that.
Yeah, I
You
do.
never know on those
No, I don't think you do.
on that kind of game because the offense scores more and it changes their
We
philosophy.
had 195
and
yards rushing. We lost that game on offense every bit as much as defense. If we've got Dylan Gabriel in that game against Texas, that is probably more like a 7-point line.
And that's with us completely not being able to throw the football. So yeah, we could have ran for 350 yards maybe, with a threat of Mims. So stuff like that does matter significantly.
I don't think we
I'm
have the
telling you.
high-powered offense.
8-4.
I think we beat OSU.
You currently think we beat OSU?
Yeah, I do.
We could beat any team on our schedule. We could lose to any team on our schedule.
Yep.
So it's not
Which is not
crazy
what
to
we're
say
normal.
let's aspire to an 8-4.
I wish
That's
we'd have
not
done
what
this
we're used to
podcast.
either.
I wish we'd have done this podcast in 2014 when we were in not this spot, but the team was equally not as good. We were equally not as good at football. that year.
yeah.
And it was just a completely different feel. We
Yeah.
didn't have any sort of offensive production. We didn't have
had
any quarterback
big
who could throw the ball down the field.
Big disappointment at quarterback.
Could not run the ball.
Couldn't run the ball.
So I mean, we
Short yardage.
We lost 3 straight games, which makes it again. It feels very close to the edge of the earth right now, because I miss winning. It's not fun not.
Well, I
winning.
think they're on a precipice right now. I think they're in a situation where they risk losing a lot of things. You risk losing fan base and fan support. You risk losing players. You risk losing recruiting momentum. So it's very
me, that's
tricky
number
right
one.
now. Yeah, for sure, because that's the big build
Fans
for
will
the
come
future.
back.
Oh, they definitely will
Yeah.
come back. But if you lose them fast enough and significantly enough, you don't get a chance because you're gone. Or you could be you're at such a detriment that you can never get everything else back together. It all has to be working together. It's all correlated.
You're never going to lose Sooner fans.
Oh, yeah, you will.
You will.
No, you won't.
You weren't around in the
Yeah.
the
Trust me, they lost a
95
lot.
to 90, 98
Yeah, that was a
era.
loss of Sooner fans. That was a significant
What were those
loss.
attendances back then?
They're
40
pretty poor.
40
Okay,
45,000?
I guess what I was saying. I guess my point was if you
No, and I
if you
agree.
retain your recruiting class
Yeah.
and lose some fans,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine. I'll take that trade.
No, it's not a trade-off, too. That's not no, those two things are never a trade-off. Those two things are correlated together. But you could say I'm building a great recruiting class and I'm building a great foundation for the future, and you have to win fast at some point, or you have to win soon enough at some point, or you won't have a job any longer.
The fan support's gone down the last couple of years, just nationwide, because TV's gotten so good.
You mean
with
the attendance?
Attendance with 4K resolution and being able to sit at home and watch every game in the country if you want to, that they're begging people to buy season tickets nowadays.
Well, and at this
there used
point,
to be a 10 or 20,000 seat waiting list to get season tickets, and now they come up with all these different packages for people to buy, sit a different place each game because they're trying to, still have sellouts and stuff
Kind
like
of begging
that.
to give them away.
But after the donor year that we just had, which obviously
That all goes away with a 5 and 7 season.
it does. But and again, you're not sitting on $109 million worth of donations because you're fighting for season ticket holders. You're asking people to just give you money, and those donors who maybe don't always go to the games, or those people who don't go to the games but donate money, or however it works, you're not going to see that nearly as much with a 5 and 7, or which won't happen.
I don't know if the first season of a new regime and a new culture hurts donations.
People aren't.
I guarantee
it will.
It hurts donations.
People are not smart enough to look.
They are not
going to
open it. Well, why would you though? Why would you get excited about that? Why
Right.
would you? There might be some people who
Because
say
you
I
have
want
to
to
have
give money to
some
this, but I guarantee.
vision of the future.
But
And
No,
hope.
no, you
you
don't.
don't have to do
You don't.
anything, I could show you on paper. You could chart what happens to their donations, and it very much correlates with the winningness of the football team.
And it already has. It will have already taken a hit based on not even the last 3 weeks, based on last week, based on a 49-0 loss to Texas. It will. I cannot even imagine the conversations that Joe Castiglione had with certain donors after that game, having to justify a plan of this is just the beginning. It's not a comfortable
I do
conversation.
think that Venables has a lot of equity with fans.
He does.
And I do think that he's got a lot of grace there, that he can withstand more than what the typical coach could in this situation.
Well, I wonder what he's saying at those meetings as well.
But it all starts to compound on itself if you don't start winning and giving people belief that you can win for the future.
Especially with the
So they got to
SEC
get better.
in their
And we want, and that's one thing I think all of us want to see, is them start to finish strong. And whatever strong looks like, it just looks like improvement at the very least.
Yeah, there has to be improvement.
has to be improvement.
We can lose to Kansas and look better doing it and sort of stomach that
No.
a little.
No. You can't. I can't. I will not. I'm not going to sit here and
So
be like,
is this a
But you have
must-win
to.
game?
That's
And
where
if so,
that's
what does
where
that
we're
mean?
at.
I,
I just think that's where our program's at.
I don't care if Kansas is 19th in the country or if they're dead last. I'm never going to sit here and stomach a loss to Kansas. I'm not going to do it. Not even when they were good back in 08. Like, yes, Steve, it is a must-win game, in my opinion. You have to.
So what does that mean if it's must-win? What does that really mean? Because people throw that out a lot. It's like, well, you're going to fold.
Yeah,
you're not going
in
to
the
close the
grand scheme
program
of things.
down.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, right? Like, you're still going to carry on.
Does
You're
it
gonna
permanently
play.
set us back, or does it set us back in a way that's substantial if we lose this game? I don't think it does. More so than what we've already seen.
I just
think
don't know
it's,
how you go
I
from
do think it's a pivotal game, and it does have a big impact. And I do think these things compound. But at the end of the day, you can overcome, even if we don't win another game this entire season, you can overcome it. What you can't do is expect that the road's going to be easy. And you do get to a point, you are Nebraska, and you may never come back. And they may never come back. They may still come back. But at some point, you get to where you've completely destroyed your equity, destroyed what you've got, and the uphill battle is just too strong, and you're permanently at a lower possibilities frontier, that you can't get above that point and back to the blue blood state.
I just think
you still have enough scapegoats that you can use for however this season goes.
my hope
To
is
buy yourself time.
My hope is that
in recruiting and in fan support
Right.
and in donations and everything else. You can just, he's a multinational championship winning coach, and it's not his guys. It simply could just fall back on, we don't have the guys. Look at this recruiting class that's coming in. We're trying to get all these guys in to get ready for the SEC. We had to take a lump this season, and it sucked, and everybody hates it, and we hated it.
And if they
That's
show
what we got to
improvement,
do.
you can really believe in that.
But my hope is that he's been preaching that before we started losing. Like
They might know that behind closed doors.
Like I hope this is. I'm not saying that he's saying, hey, we don't know what to expect. Like, but still commit to us. I don't think that's been it. But I still hope there hasn't been this sense of false expectations set before the losing started happening with these recruits and with everyone else.
You got to be careful about how you marketed yourself
beforehand.
Because if you said things to them that built up in their minds an expectation the way we as fans had in our minds.
That's what I'm saying.
They may be second guessing what is actually the future for them.
Like the question we asked ourselves after the Texas game: were we lied to? Are the recruits asking themselves the same thing? Was I lied to? Because
I would think they would lie to us first. I think that they are telling recruits, listen, we don't have what you have. We need you. The season's going to be rough. Not sure what it's going to look like. Trust in what we've built before. You can go back and see what we've done. Come here. We're gonna do as best we can, but we need you.
Because that's why I view it as a must-win.
I mean, what else does Texas say?
I don't view it as a sense of we're going to shut the program down. I view it as a sense of perception amongst these fickle-minded young men who do have other coaches in their ears every day.
And you're scared about what they're saying to them.
Exactly.
Too.
There's tons of negative recruiting already going on.
It doesn't affect Texas. I don't know.
So
I don't know.
Well,
yeah, but they're Texas.
Texas can pay.
It doesn't affect LSU.
But
doesn't
Texas
affect A&M.
But A&M's different. Texas they've struggled a little bit in recruiting. They haven't recruited in a top 5 level, right?
Yeah, probably 3-4 years in a row. They had a couple years where they fell to 17th once with Tom Herman or
but
something.
It's going to be.
But
those,
even he had a top 5
those
class.
Pivotal battleground.
Charlie
guys.
Strong had top.
We don't
top
have
class.
some of the things Texas has in their favor though too.
I don't know if they get to use the hey, we need you. We just don't have the people
So
come in here and change the culture. If it works, if they can do it, I don't know why we can't.
Do you think they're saying that without calling specific players out, but sort of alluding to specific players? You look at a recruit and he knows he plays a certain position and he sees the guy that's in front of him, and the recruiting story to him is, we need you in that position, without kind of saying you're much better than player XYZ?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have that this weekend. I mean, we have
maybe it goes without being said as well.
We have one of the top defensive tackles in the country coming in, and
who is it?
You just have to know that they're telling them, this is what you're going to run. We don't have the guys to do it.
You can do things these
Come
guys
here
can't do.
and do this. We need you. Be the backbone of the future of our team.
Mm-hmm.
Please be the backbone.
I don't know. I feel like other schools
We're spineless.
get to use that type of recruiting strategy. I don't know why we can't.
Because
we never have to.
Nothing ever
We
works.
haven't had
Nothing
to.
ever works for us. We're part of a detrimental team that makes me sad and just hurts me every year.
We've been able to use we
I
are
feel so much like
one
Lucas.
or two guys away. Look, we just went 11-1 and won a Big 12 title and went to the playoff. And yeah, LSU kicked the crap out of us, or Bama put us in our place. But
We're still a bunch of bitches,
We're
but
two
please
or
play
three
for
guys
us.
away from being able to win the Natty. And after this go round, you can't say anything remotely resembling that.
The narrative changes, but maybe in a positive way, because if the story's out, the story I'd be saying, and this would be a negative recruiting thing that I would do against Lincoln Riley, is he's a liar. He lied to a lot of players. He lied to a lot of guys. He lied to a lot of people and a lot of fans about being this close and it being fixable, and it wasn't. So
he's a liar.
So maybe he can say, this is an honest narrative and this is where we really are. And I don't know what that regime was telling people, but this is the new story. And I'm thinking about what you're talking, not just to a specific player but and his family, but you're also talking to the high school football coach, because that's a key part of recruiting, is having a good connection with those high school football coaches. And your story has to be different to say that this is a different Oklahoma than what you've been talked about before. and we are about building something for the future, and here is where your players could be a big part of that.
I mean, I think there's two different types of kids. One kid really likes the Alabama pitch, where come here, it's going to be a couple of years, you'll get your shot. X amount of people in your position have moved on to the NFL.
Right.
We roll everybody through, and they're successful, and you have to wait your turn. And then there's other schools that use the pitch of come here, be the guy that creates the change, go down in history, quote, as the recruiting class that turned it all around, be the ones that bring Oklahoma defense back to the forefront and lead us into the SEC. Right? So hopefully the kids that we're after and already have verbal commits from, they must be those type of kids, because we're not selling them on the other part, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully the few pieces that we still need, we can get them on board and keep the ones that we have now intact based off of that. Be the team that people remember OU coming into the SEC.
Clean slate.
And this is your name on this team. You brought back dominance.
Is that
to
a
Oklahoma
hindrance
football.
to us that we don't know when our true entry into the SEC will be? Is that becoming a difficulty in terms of recruiting, do you think?
Probably a little, but there's probably a lot of smoke getting blown up.
I think they tell the kids the 24 season we're going to be in the SEC. I think all signs are pointing to that. We leave a year earlier.
But we don't know that, and they can't promise that. It could be 23, 24, 25.
Yeah,
It's
but they're
probably
also
slightly
they're also telling
detrimental.
these kids though that by the time you leave campus, we're
You
going to
will
be in
be
the
in the
SEC.
SEC.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah,
So
this
that's
class.
probably good.
Yeah, this
class
class
will play in the SEC.
Right.
Right, period.
At some point.
No matter what.
Yeah.
At some point. I think it's got to be a little detrimental to not know that future and to have that a little bit iffy. Especially
might have
if
hurt
the guy
us
wants that
last
publicity.
year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because those kids couldn't be guaranteed that they would necessarily be
Yeah.
in the SEC.
And then you got a guy like
Yeah.
David King. He maybe thinks I want to be in the SEC, and that's a part of the selling point. Well, one more thing on players, thinking about the portal. So who do you think goes? How many should go? I don't know if you have specifics or not, and what kind of needs do you think we have to fill? Beggars can't be choosers. We don't know if players in the positions we want to fill will be there that we want, but are there some positions where it doesn't matter who's there? We just want a new person, a new body in that position.
I would almost start with what positions do we not need to
Yeah.
go after in the portal.
We need an
Quarterback?
upgrade everywhere.
We don't
Quarterback?
we don't need quarterback at this point. We don't
No.
need a running back,
Don't need a running back, probably.
but
But you'd use a good one.
wide receiver, you're losing some depth with Mims and with Weiss and with Stoops leaving.
Could use an offensive lineman.
We could all yeah.
We
I-
use
except I
5
don't know,
offensive linemen.
Yeah. I'm not
So-
greedy. I'm just
We need to
saying
push
one.
some of those
No,
guys out
if
that are
if
on
Wanye stays,
scholarship.
Wanye is going to be the anchor, and
Rame has to come back.
you want
right?
to think
He's gotta
yeah,
get
Rame
better.
has to, but you gotta hope he gets better.
He might
But
get
outside of
supplanted
that.
by a freshman, as bad as he's been playing.
So I mean,
What about on defense? How
but
many
no,
of those
we've
guys?
got a couple freshmen on the offensive line who should be good.
Let him play now then. 'Cause
I agree.
Rain
They
ain't-
played
Rain
some.
ain't it.
Sexton came in.
Taylor
Conklin was
hasn't played a
playing.
lot.
Conklin was playing center at the end of the Texas
But
game.
he's just a guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
How many
he's
guys
a
on
transfer.
defense do we need to show the portal to?
I think you
Can
need,
we be
I
greedy
think you
there?
need to revamp your
I
whole
don't know if
defensive
you-
backfield outside of Billy Bowman.
I don't know if you know until we hopefully see our youth movement.
True.
I mean, Gentry Williams is a big time recruit.
Yeah, I don't
Robert
think we know.
Spears
till-
Jennings.
I think
big time recruit.
I think Gentry Williams is going to start playing a lot.
I don't think we know until game probably 10
Jaden Rowe,
what
big
the
time
situation
recruit.
is on portals.
Do you think we'll use the portal?
Yes,
For sure.
And I don't think Brent
You don't think he has a problem? with
wanted
it?
to.
But now he knows he has to.
He probably is upset that he didn't hit it harder.
I would expect so. So maybe it was a good lesson for him to learn year one that he won't
Especially
make that
that whole,
same
like-
mistake ever again.
Oh, I'm going to be nice and I'm not going to
Right,
take from Clemson.
right.
No, screw that, dude.
He's
You're
gotta,
in trouble.
He's got to understand to be
You are-
more competitive, and that's the new face of college football. If you're not utilizing the portal properly, then you're going to get outflanked. It's like a guy who says, "I'm not going to focus on recruiting." Well,
Right.
then you're not going to be a very successful college football coach.
Well, and you thought you were deep at linebacker until we're down to 4 scholarship guys in that position.
Oh, you only played 2 linebackers, so you don't need that many, apparently.
Little shot.
Yeah.
Well, let's transition to some predictions, and let's talk about locks of the week.
The realest deal, locks of the week.
So, right now, coming into the week, we have I'm not going to call him a clear leader, but he's doing pretty well. And that's Jay. Jay's 11-7 for the year, 61%.
Cargo Short J.
But right on his heels, me at 9-9, 50%, even Steven. And then we've got Connor at 8-10, 44%, and then Lucas.
Bring up
I
the
don't
rear.
know what you're doing. You're 6-12. You're 33%.
I start off 4-2.
6-12.
And I'm
Try
2-10.
harder.
Wow.
Try harder.
He's trending with OU's record.
He is. He's good
Yeah.
at predictions when they are. He's good when it's all random, and then when everything settles in, he doesn't have a clue.
I think this is the first week I stayed away from a OU game.
Last week, I tell you what, if I
And a
would have stayed
Texas
away
A&M
from
game.
OU games, I'd be doing
Well,
better as well.
I mean, I had us with a 21-point loss and didn't lock it, and that was an idiot move by me. That
should have
that
locked-
should have
locked
definitely
it.
been a lock.
That's pretty funny. You made a prediction on the score of that game, and
Yeah,
yet didn't
by
lock
21.
it, where you had double the line. So the line's
Triple.
7, triple the line.
Triple
yeah.
the line.
So yeah, I was thinking double the margin over it.
Yeah.
So
I'll never lock against OU.
no, I agree.
You guys can lock.
Last
You guys
week-
can
I took
lock
Texas.
that
I
on the
took
pod.
Texas.
I will never
Yeah.
lock.
Yeah,
against
Jay
OU.
did. And he's
I took
11-7.
Texas.
Well, that's the only. Well, I was 3-0 last week. Jay was 2-1, and each of you were 1-2.
I had a bad beat, too.
Let's forget about
Texas
where we've
Tech.
been,
Yep.
and let's talk about where we're headed. So I'm going to start it off. I got one that I really don't feel very confident in, but
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma State
Oh,
getting 3.5. So they're playing Texas Christian at TCU, and I think they're going to cover. Then I've got Fresno State getting 8.5, and they're playing San Jose State. And then I've got North Carolina giving 7 against Duke. Those are my 3 locks. Connor,
I like that last one.
you want to read yours?
I've got favorites in all of mine. So first one, I've got Coastal Carolina minus 12.5. I don't remember who they're playing, but they're gonna cover that. Eastern Michigan minus 2.5, and Clemson minus 3.5 against the Noles.
I like that one, too.
Who you got, Lucas?
I've got Ole Miss minus 14.5 against Auburn. I'd like that a lot better at 13.5, but
Auburn sucks.
That's where we're going with this. I've got Tulane minus 11.5
That's
against
a good football
South
team
Florida.
right there. That is a good. They built a lot last year when they played us.
And I've got Clemson as well, minus 3.5 against Florida State.
Good pick, Lucas.
All right,
Good pick.
Jay, our leader. What do you got?
Pretty sure I went with TCU.
You did not.
God, Jay.
You went
Jay.
with Baylor.
He should
Giving
only get
3.5.
2 locks. He should only get 2 locks if that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
case.
exactly. Scratch that. You got Baylor giving 3.5. You got Penn State getting 7.5 against Michigan. So
Bad pick.
So that's
Oh, yeah, and then Arkansas.
and then you got Arkansas giving 1.5. And so those are interesting picks. We'll see how those work out.
I like the TCU.
Hopefully we can turn around as a group. We are 34-38, 47%. We're losing money so far, but we're about to turn it around. We're going to double down, and we're going to make some money for the next 2/3 of the season. Well, let's go to predictions for this game. So we play the Mighty Jayhawk. They're a basketball school. I don't care what they claim with this new coach. And
They had a lot of game day fans last week.
How about
they
that?
set up on that hill on the south lawn,
a
and it was
tremendous game day experience.
fantastic. How many people showed up for that? I think game day now has 5 places they haven't been now.
5 places in all of
Probably
FBS
division.
football?
Yeah, apparently.
No way.
I don't see how that's possible, but
I
that's.
don't see it.
That's not. That's
I
not
think it's
fair.
Power
It-
5.
No.
I think there's 5 Power 5
5
schools
Power
that
5.
haven't been to.
Yeah, 5 Power 5.
Can we
So
name them maybe?
probably
Rutgers,
Vanderbilt, Rutgers.
Wake.
Yeah, probably. Well, they might have been there last year.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cal.
No, they probably were at Cal at some point.
Maybe
in time.
Aaron Rodgers
Aaron
there.
Rodgers,
Yeah.
Yeah. There might be a surprising one that just it might be a Pac-12 where the time zone is going to be so weird. So that might be difficult for him because that'd be a really early morning out there.
Well, I know
I
they've
can
been
see
to
a
Oregon where it's
Arizona?
like dark out still.
Arizona
when the
State.
show comes on.
Have they been to either of them? Well, we'll have to look that up. So who wants to lead us off on OU predictions?
I'll start us off. OU is going to win this game.
I like it. Are they going to cover?
They're going to cover.
I like it.
Score is going to be 38-28.
All right.
Not comfortable, but it's a win.
Okay.
That's what we need.
Jay, what do you got?
Oh, okay. I'm going to go with 34-27 OU.
34-27 OU.
So we will not cover.
So a push. Yeah, with 7.5. It actually is as high up as 9. It keeps moving
It's
around.
at 9 right now, I think.
So, yeah. So just flat out not covering in your case. But OU wins. Lucas, what do you got?
I have 35-31 Kansas.
That'd be 31-35. Picking against the Sooners. All right.
You're
Well,
such a dick, Lucas.
that's kind of gross. And you're going against the line. You're going against Vegas. So that's a bold pick. That's a very bold pick.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's a
Thankfully, I've been horrible on my picks this
it's a
year.
13. That's true. That's a 13-point swing you've got, and that's not one of your locks, huh?
Nope. I'll probably regret it. I'll probably come
Interesting.
Saturday afternoon and be like, dang it, I did it again. Screwed
Well,
up
you
and
won't
should've
because
locked.
you're wrong, and the Sooners are going to win. Sooners win 35-17. They're going to cover. The defense is going to show up and get off the field, and the offense under Dylan Gabriel is going to put some points on the board. We're going to put a little bit of the first part of the season to rest. Start fresh in the rebuilding.
You know what? I don't want to see it, but I would like to see it in place of a conservative offense. I want to see Dylan Gabriel throw some footballs into some areas that he may not be comfortable in and maybe even throw an interception.
I like that a lot. I'd like for him to take some chances. That's kind of circling back to earlier questions about what do we need to do and how do players need to respond. I'd like to see players and coaches on the offensive side of the ball start to take some chances like that. I'd like to see a different, although this is not going to happen, this is probably the biggest long shot of anything we'll discuss. I would like to see a different starting running back or at least a different guy getting the majority of the carries.
You won't.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
You won't. Eric Gray's apparently a god in the locker
But
room.
I'd like to see Dylan Gabriel looking downfield deep more often, looking at those patterns that he's struggled with, throwing the ball into some areas where he can take some chances to try and make some things happen and maybe surprise a defense, and not just look for the check down, obviously, to Gray. That's something that's been pretty disappointing in general.
I want to see him throw the ball over the middle of the field. We don't see anything.
Accurately.
Yeah.
You mean bring it? He needs to lower this trajectory too. That would be very helpful against Kansas.
I think if he's just a little bit better than he has been, will be a very successful offense.
I think you're right. I mean, the stats would bear that out. Just a few key miscues on his part, really, truly miscues on his part, and statistically, he'd be fantastic.
Does DJ Graham get a catch this week?
Ooh, good question.
No.
Oh, that may be the
I think he
Sooners
does.
fantasy tiebreaker question right there.
I think he gets a catch this
How
week.
many receiving yards does DJ Graham have?
I like that. I think he gets a catch this week. You're going to move that guy in that position, they're going to throw the ball at him a couple times.
Oh, I'm going to have to go adjust his whole profile. He's now an offensive player.
Oh, he's an offensive player. You're right. You got to swap him out. So you got to, because it's live.
What are you talking about swapping him out on?
Sooners Fantasy.
Sooners Fantasy.
Yeah, that's an interesting website. That's
Yeah.
a new development.
Wow.
It's in beta right now. We're about to launch it live. That's going to be
Yeah, check us out after the bye week. Should have some stuff cleaned up.
nice. Anything else? Any closing thoughts on Kansas, the OU Kansas game?
I've never been so negative in my life, and I'm going
That's true.
I'm going to consider this rock bottom for me. Please,
Let's also point
It's
out
a version of rock
let's
bottom
point out
for
to the
you.
fact of how old you are. How old are you, Connor?
He's 12.
I'm 12. No, I'm 28.
Okay.
I didn't have to go through a lot of the stuff that a lot of our older listeners and more mature folks have gone through.
And fellow podcasters.
All of our podcasters.
that we've saw the dark days in the 90s.
So yeah, it is a just kind of a.
Well, I hope we don't get there, because what that is, and you'll know you're there, when you've gone from this feeling of hope and we're going to turn it around, things are going to be great this season, to frustration and anger, to capitulation and just comedy. And when you're just making fun of what's going on the field, you're just trying to laugh to get through it therapeutically, that's when you know you've hit rock bottom. That's what rock bottom feels like. You stop caring. You
I
get
was
numb,
laughing at the end
and
of the
you
game
get-
last year.
and
That
it
last
gets
week.
really, really problematic. We were. And let's hope we don't get there in a sense of where we even approach games coming into them, because that's what the 90s were like, and it sucked a lot.
Is Davis
And it felt like it
Bevel
was
still our
over.
backup quarterback?
I would hope not, and that's a great question.
I don't care how good the kid is in practice. When the lights are on, he does nothing.
Happy
So
belated birthday. Yesterday was his birthday. by
There's
the way.
no way you can put that kid on the field in anything but handoff mop-up duty.
Do the fans,
Should invite him to the pod.
I don't think
Boo.
the fans could handle it.
if he comes out at all, let's say that we're up,
If
just say that we're up 42-10 in the fourth quarter, and we put in a backup, who do you think comes in?
Well, if he came in that situation, I think the fans would be okay.
I think the fans would probably applaud
Yes.
just because we're
Yeah, I
winning
think you're
by so
right.
much.
Yes, I
Well, I
agree.
think
And to
not
try to
just
give
that,
him some support.
And you're going to support the kid.
Right.
But
But if
it would
Gabriel
also
gets
at the
injured
same
again-
time, it would disappoint me if he comes in as the backup, because I don't understand how he can still be the backup. In fact, in that situation, I would rather see Evers or whoever you think our other option are as a backup get some experience in that game.
Yeah, it's another part of the youth movement.
Yeah.
If we somehow get up on an opponent where we have a whole fourth quarter for someone else to play, Evers needs to be the guy.
And for looks, you have to put aside. I mean, like I said, this is not happening because we're going to lose to Kansas. But in your scenario, it's 42-10, and there's 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. You bring Evers in, and you run your normal offense.
Yes.
Be
Throwing
damned
the ball and
if
all.
you score 2 more touchdowns. Who cares if
Oh, yeah.
the Mike Lubick of the world is telling you that you're
Fiction writer.
running it up on people, blah, blah, blah. You're trying to get as much experience as you can to your backup in case something bad happens to the starter again.
Absolutely.
If we're woke enough to wear the jerseys that we're wearing on Saturday, and not woke enough to bring in Nick Evers in a 40+10
and let him play.
score in the fourth quarter and let him play, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, that is something I think that they have erred on in the prior games, the first 3 games. That when the backup came in, they didn't let them run the offense, especially the first 2 games, where that was a big miss in an opportunity to gain valuable experience. And in fact,
I think the Nebraska
Both of
game
those-
was the worst because it was, what was
Yeah.
it, 49-7 when they pulled
the most opportunity
Gabriel.
other than you're
halfway
trying to
through
be
the third quarter.
merciful.
It
You're
was
just
it was
trying to
after
be
the first
merciful.
series,
Yeah,
wasn't
2
it?
drives into the third
So
quarter.
you
Yeah.
had lots of opportunity to let
Yes.
other guys get in there and play. And
Because you don't want to run it up on Nebraska.
I've
That's the
never-
thing,
I've
is
never
get in-
understood it.
Get in there and play.
Not running it up, to be completely honest.
I
Now the
totally
77-0 A&M game.
You have your starters in, and you're going full steam ahead.
That's
a
different.
whole different story. If you put in backup players, and they're just running the plays and they score, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line and there's a balance there. Depends on how you're doing it, what the actual circumstances of the game are. But in the ones we've seen this year, you absolutely would be completely in the right to let those backups play and give them basically the full playbook that they're capable of running. Maybe you do run it a conservative run, the first run, no matter what, but you open it up.
Yeah, you're not
and
running
let
trick
them-
plays with them or
Right.
anything like that. But you let them throw the ball to try
Yeah, if
to
it's
move
third
down
and
the
8,
field.
3rd and 8, you try and get the first. Don't
Run-
just handle
Well,
the
even if
ball.
it's
Run your
first and 10 and
offense.
you want to run a post route, you run the post route.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to run play action and pull it back and throw something over the top.
I don't think
do
that's
it.
just my anger speaking and my wanting to win. I'm out for blood. I want to see,
It's just
turn
common
this around.
sense.
It's just common sense. And it put us in a position where we didn't have a backup. We did not have somebody who could come in and command the offense. Or command, that's a strong word.
Class
Who
is
could
overrated.
Do anything on offense. And that led us to be humiliated in
Yeah.
our
I
biggest
think
game
the
of the
Nebraska
year.
game was the biggest hindsight 2020 situation, but I mean 49-7 or whatever it was at that point with what 18 to 21 minutes left, however long was left in the game.
Yeah.
25 minutes.
You should have been running full offense with the backup.
I agree.
All backups.
Yeah, even if
I mean, if it was
the
Bevel the
other
whole
thing
time,
you could argue
let him throw the ball.
is that let a backup quarterback come in, but keep a lot of the ones out there, and let him run with some of the first team guys. But especially if it's all 2s and 3s, then by all means let him run whatever offense they need to. In fact, it might be safer if he does, so that you actually are being a threat and that they can't just tee off on you, knowing you're running in with inexperienced guys. You're running right into the line. So that's another thing to blame the coaches, that they made a mistake.
Soft.
Any other thoughts? We're going to be here 11 a.m. kickoff. It's going to be an interesting.
Guys, make sure you wear black on Saturday.
Yeah.
It's going to be warm.
Blackout.
I think 85 is the high.
If you guys need a black OU shirt, I'll bring one for you. I've got a few.
85 in the middle of November is not cool. I mean, middle of October is not cool.
It's better than 96.
The next day it's going to be really nice.
I was looking forward to hoodie
rainy,
season.
though.
I've got lots of OU hoodies to wear.
Are you black?
I bet you.
Nope.
I bet
I don't
you
own anything black in Oklahoma.
You got your OU Uggs ready to go.
Before we end this, if you want to know the 5 schools,
Yes, I do.
California,
Correct.
Duke, Illinois, Maryland, and Rutgers.
We got
2 out of 5.
Nice. Good
Yep.
work, guys. Interesting. All right. Well, we'll be here for the post game. We'll be celebrating a giant victory by the Sooners,
Big dub.
and we'll be ready for the rebuilding to begin. Till next time, Boomer.
Sooner.